Did I just buy an illegal motorcycle? Uh-oh. So this might actually be one of the dumbest purchases I've ever made, because not only is in the aftermath of the Meat Cup Madness, where the H2 was probably the hottest bike of the weekend. As a lot of you know, the other controversy of that weekend was the Z2 with no VIN number, which, surprise, surprise, this bike, it does not have a VIN number, making it completely unregisterable. So I just went out, bought the hottest bike that cannot be registered. So what am I gonna do with this thing? Now, before you call me crazy, or even worse, call the authorities, let me explain what's going on here. The reason this frame has no VIN numbers, it's not because of some scrupulous history or backdoor deals. It's actually because it's a Kawasaki replacement frame, which never actually came stamped from factory. In fact, the only markings on it are a made in Japan stamping and an actual part number sticker on the back. So if you want to know why I bought this bike, well, despite the fact that I think a replacement frame is just kind of cool to have in my collection, with just over 8,000 miles on the clock, last being ridden in the 70s, and a fairly low VIN number bike, the parts on this are really, really good. And again, being a low VIN number bike, some of the parts on here are unique to the early H2s and would make excellent donor parts to another H2 project that I have on the go. So even though this bike will never ride again, you can take comfort knowing that all of the parts are going to be donated to a much more worthy cause, helping that project and many others back on the road. Which is why it's not always a bad thing to part these bikes out, you know, if there's no other life available to them. Now, full disclosure, the bike did not look this nice when I picked it up. Although the tail and fender are original to it, the side cover, tank, and seat I added on just to kind of complete the full aesthetic. The rest of the bodywork was painted in this primer brown. It's not like I picked up this beautiful original Survivor here, but it is a great bike nonetheless. Now, if you don't believe me or you've never seen a factory replacement frame, let me show you exactly what it is we're looking at. So as far as the VIN number is concerned, you can see the front of the frame where it's got the made in Japan stamping, and the actual original VIN is usually stamped along this line right here. As you can see, there's nothing there. There's no signs of other paint or grind marks. Then we've also got this really cool sticker, because the frame is essentially just a part. Here's a genuine Kawasaki parts sticker. And this is the exact same sticker that was on my dad's Z1, which also had a replacement frame. Granted, the Z1 obviously had a different part number, but those are the two main indicators to show, yes, this is a factory Kawasaki replacement frame. Now, if you're curious how it was even possible to register one of these bikes back in the day, well, obviously that varies from state to state, province to province, country to country. All I can really speak upon is what I know from here in Ontario, Canada, where I've heard a couple different stories. And I think it really just came down to the dealership, to be perfectly honest. I know my dad's Z1 that had a replacement frame, he got to keep the original frame as proof of ownership. Another mechanic I talked to who worked on these bikes back in the 70s said what they would do at their dealership was cut off the headstock here, basically give that to you as a souvenir to match your ownership, or they might also stamp the number into the new frame as well. So those are kind of the three methods I heard. Obviously back in the day, the rules and regulations were a little bit looser than they are today, which is why there's, I guess, different methods of doing it. But obviously this one was never restamped. I don't have the original frame or headstock to go along with it. So yeah, this bike will never be registered again. Now, going over this bike in a little bit more detail, you can see exactly how nice this is and why I decided to pick it up as a donor bike. Again, just over 8,000 miles, last ridden in 79. All the parts on this bike are in really, really good original condition. No, like the turn signals, those are always beat up or bent. The shocks, there's no rust on them. Even like the fins, nothing's cracked or broken on the fins. It's got the early calipers that have got that like center sort of torque spit in the middle of the bolt there. Another nice piece that's on the early H2s that I'm happy to find is the brake arm here. As you can see, it's got that nice little bend. On all the other H2s, like later production models, throughout all 4 years, that was just straight. And it's also got the correct longer arm here. So those are some really nice pieces to have for my early frame build. Again, no damage on the clutch covers or anything, and like everything's intact. I've got the carbs for it. I plugged these off just to wash the bike. Even all the original hardware is actually still in pretty good condition and will clean up quite nicely. So that's just a huge bonus to have, especially if you want to do an original style restoration. Most of this stuff will clean up really good as is, or if not, you can always go out and get it replated. And before any of you keeners make fun of me for this, yes, that horn did come upside down. So this really is the perfect donor bike. All the parts, again, are in really good condition. Because the bike can never be registered, I don't need to feel bad about taking it apart. So it's just the best of both worlds. I'm really excited to have found this. And again, it's going to help my early project and many other bikes get back on the road.